Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, baby, and we got an actual break. We got something new to look at. No more sandpaper ranges, so we can actually observe some new price action here, of which I wanted to follow up on the higher term time frame signals that were essentially governing our biases for downside continuation, and then also juxtapose that against what is likely to happen in the short term. So understand that the higher term time frames are very much different than the short term time frames right now. But with that in mind, I wanted to, yes, once again, acknowledge that we do have a sale going on. And of course, with any one of the programs, any one of the indicators, please watch the promotional videos that do accompany them. They're explaining who they're for, who they're not for, what essentially comes with the programs, so that you can make an educated decision for yourself if that is relevant to you or not. And then other than that, I think we got the good old Bybit chill over here, as they're still offering up $1,000 in Ethereum for, it's $1,000 deposit for $1,000 in Ethereum contract position. There's a bunch of fine writing with that, but there is a link in the comment section, actually in the pinned comment section, that I'll have there. All right, sweet. So let's just jump into it right here. This is the one major chart that's really been governing our downside biases for the past few weeks, and it is the 2-day time frame representing volatility versus stochastic momentum on CME. The signal is this: anytime that 2-day volatility gets to extreme lows, which again is this indicator right here that my cursor is currently on, getting to this area here where the green horizontal bar is, the expansion phase from these extreme lows for the full history of CME has led to an average move of 39.5% over the course of an average of about 3.5 weeks. And the stochastic oscillator has gone the correct direction on that volatility expansion about 87.5% of the time. Obviously, that number is going to be going up because, well, it's worked yet again. Crazy how statistics work. Although statistics not infallible, though. I always want to be restating that, because just because the statistics are on one side does not mean it is destined to happen without any issue. But so far, so good. Anyways, in this case, a few things of interest. So first things first, the 2-day time frame, the 2-day stochastic oscillator is still pointed to the downside direction. And the new momentum pivot upon last night's closure is 19,900. That is to say that as long as Bitcoin is below that level, we do still look for the stats to, slowly play out, perhaps. And in this case, if we bring back on our drawing tools right here, we can see that the first standard deviation, which represents where we expect 68% of the results to fall between, is between 32% to all the way up to 47%. Now, I do think that is kind of asking for a lot to even look at even the shorter of the, of that end. But if we were to play around with numbers here and shave off 32% off of price action from when the signal was given, that would put Bitcoin basically in the $15,500 region. Again, we do expect variance within this. But here's the thing. We've already seen from when the signal was given to where it's at right now, about 17.5% move to the downside, which, is decent, definitely decent. But that actually would be the lowest, I believe. Yeah, that would be the lowest signal from this, from this setup. The other lowest, or the current lowest signal, the current lowest one is just under 24%. So kind of comparable to that. But here's the thing: the average days at 3.5 weeks or so. Well, let's see where this one started. This one started, of course, here on the 25th of August. We are now on the 9th of September. So that's 15. Did I do that right? I think it's 15 days, but it might not be. Where the fuck? Okay, it's 13 days. So we're a little bit more than halfway to the, average maturation of the signal. So we would expect that these next couple of weeks, really do start to accelerate to the downside if that is going to start to play out. Keep in mind that next week there is, I think, a CPI, and I think that there's Fed members talking all throughout this week and also next week. So that will likely move the markets. But in this case, do be aware of that. So moving on to the next chart, I wanted to follow up on something that we've spoken about many a time, and I think it's time to speak about it again, and it's the September monthly chart. So September for Bitcoin and also traditional markets has just typically not been a good month. In fact, it's typically the worst month, statistically speaking. And this one, so far, so good, or bad, I guess. 9 out of all the 13 Septembers on Bitcoin have been down months, and the average down for those months have been about 21.17%. And the first standard deviation represents the region between 13.5 to all the way up to 29. So again, playing around with numbers here, we could imagine and start to come up with areas of interest. 13% down from August closure would put Bitcoin at $17,500, which I do think is quite reasonable to very likely test sometime in September. Now, if we go all the way to the average, which is 21%, that would put Bitcoin at about $15,500, which, if you recall, is the same number that would put us on the lower end of the first deviation over here for the 2-day time frame signal. So I do think that these regions deserve some consideration long term throughout the month of September, obviously. But here's the thing: this is massively different than what I'm about to, or I wouldn't say massively, but it is different than what I'm about to present for the short-term time frame. So again, do not confuse these two things. Obviously, there's like a million 4-hour time frame closures that go into a monthly, so they're unrelated in the short term. So going over here into the short term, I did want to follow up on a few things. So first things first, Bitcoin did hit not just the target or one of the targets from our prior charts, but also from the measured move off of this descending triangle right here, which was also a test of the 1.618 Fibonacci extension at $18,500. So that has been fulfilled. Now on the short-term timeframes, like the 4-hour, we do see a few things of interest. Regular bullish divergence is starting to formulate over here, of which it's not just regular bullish divergence, but it is also, you can also see this trend line form between the last few lows, the 19th of August, the 29th of August, and potentially the today, basically, which was this low over here. I should actually mark it off. Boom, this low over here, and then this low over here, and potentially this low over here. Now, you'll notice that all of these were continuation moves. They played back up to the prior range highs, and then, continued to the downside, obviously. Let me just get rid of these because they're probably just annoying to be looking at right now. But yes, do I kind of expect a bounce here? This would kind of be a good area for a bounce after a target like that is met. If we go over to the 6-hour, we'll also observe that potential regular bullish divergence is forming as well. By the way, yes, the hidden bearish divergence that we called out yesterday for the 4, 6, and 12-hour right here, obviously that's already played out. So I don't think that there's too much, there's too much to be gained from talking about that any longer. But same thing over here on the 6-hour, and then the 12-hour also has a potential regular bullish divergence if it confirms a local low. So here's where things become a little more interesting and where, maybe we might see a reversal, although I still do think that it's a little bit less likely. But first things first, if Bitcoin were to confirm that as bullish divergence, well, we'd need to confirm this as a local low, and that would thus confirm the bullish divergence and then, have targets higher. How would you confirm this as a local low? It needs to close a 4-hour time frame above about basically $19,000. A little bit lower than that to be fair, but yeah, if that were to happen, then I would be looking for Bitcoin to put in a nice move towards the breakdown region that we did see from yesterday. That would be 19,400 to 19,500. And then the question is, can Bitcoin close above there? If it does, at that point, I'd really start to look at this as leading into a higher term time frame trap with a target back up towards $20,000, actually more than $20,000, which obviously at that point, that would force the 2-day time frame signal to flip back onto the upside. So that would be, I think, best case scenario right now for Bitcoin in the next couple of days. I think it's less likely. Again, statistics still kind of suggest downside. What I think is a little more likely is that you get something like this, starts to range in there, and then you get your next move, obviously. If we go match that up with stochastic momentum, we'll notice on the 12-hour, the pivot is at 18,900. Again, we're, kind of already in the critical zone, so it's very difficult to kind of keep momentum, consistent to the downside at these levels, at least in the short term. 6-hour is also pivoted at 18,900, and the 4-hour is pivoted at 18,750. So all of these numbers kind of come in within the same region, and they're all within the critical zone already. So it is kind of difficult in the short term, at least in my opinion, to get like any major continuation. How would I judge continuation in this case? I just need to see a closure below the lowest wick that we already have here, which is 18,360. Below there, I guess, yeah, send it down to 17.5, and well, then we come back to it after that. But I suspect that today is probably going to be a day of sideways and maybe a short-term attempt for a bounce. So other than that, I don't really have anything else to add. Maybe shill my Instagram really quickly, as I've been uploading a shit ton of content there, both trading and non-trading related content, which you can find in the description below. And I think it's time for me to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.